fire at will.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. Another one of these recorded ones, which I don't do much of anymore, but feel it very necessary because I want to go through the information I'm going to be covering today in a way that is consistent and even keeled. And oh, my camera was at an angle. That is not good. It doesn't look very professional. Looks like I'm in a ship. Maybe I'll change it. Minnesota Pirate Regiment. No, I don't like it. Anyway, so I want to give a shout out to my friends over at Arden Sales for continuing to make it possible for me to continue to put content out, and their drive to hold Minnesota public servants and political parties accountable. If you haven't ever checked it out, make sure you're ordering coffee. You can message me at tcpearson@protonmail.com. You can message me on Facebook at tcpearson. You can at me on Twitter at Robe Regiment. Coffee, best coffee ever going to have. Merchandise, best merchandise you'll ever find. I will admit I'm not drinking coffee right now. I have been up since 5:30 this morning. I was up at 5:30 yesterday morning. Now that's not very early, but I have been spending the first half of yesterday and the first half of today working on more Sherburne County stuff, which of course you know by the title of this video. I am going to be doing some excerpts from meetings, Sherburne County board meetings, demonstrating how they have ramped up their assault on the First Amendment, and the fact that they have rules for thee but not for we. In other words, you can say whatever you want that's positive about anybody in the county, and that will be allowed. You can even say things that are negative about people in the county, and we're going to demonstrate that on at least one occasion, and make some horrible accusations. But and they won't shut you down, but they will loosely interpret the idea of attacking someone that is a county employee or a board member as just mentioning their name, as we've seen play out. So we're going to juxtapose some things here. This is a very vital conversation. It's very important for us to be having because this is the way things go in Minnesota in toto, period. You don't have to like that I said that. You don't have to care for the fact that I said that. But it's a fact. It is what it is. We've seen this play out in places like the Owatonna School Board. We've seen this play out in the Albert Lea City Council. We've seen this play out with the Albert Lea School Board meetings. We've seen this play out in Dover Yoda. We've seen this play out in Rochester's public schools. We've seen it play out at the Rochester Public Library and the Rochester City Council meetings over and 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 over again. They are moving to silence dissent. And dissent is anything that they don't like. So I'm going to mention real quick before we get too far into this, a case from 1964. It's New York Times v. Sullivan. So the New York Times printed an ad about a public servant in Montgomery, the Montgomery Police Commissioner, L.B. Sullivan. He sued them and won a $500,000 summary judgment against the New York Times through the Supreme Court of Alabama. And in 1964, the United States Supreme Court overturned that decision in a 9-0 ruling, which is almost unheard of in the history of the courts. Really, it's very rarely do you see, compared to all of the other decisions that the Supreme Court has made, that SCOTUS has made in its history, have you seen that many? Do you see that many justices agreeing? Now, there has been some debate back and forth about whether or not that should stand, But basically what it came down to is that when you're a public servant, when you are a public figure, whether you're elected or appointed, or whether you're a self-made public figure, somebody who's famous just for being famous, the burden for you to sue somebody for defamation or to determine that something that someone is saying about you is an attack is incredibly high. And in this ruling, uh, the Supreme Court has said that the First Amendment covers even what you might personally consider defamatory comments, and went on to state that these, and I'm paraphrasing, went on to state that these comments have to be understood as potentially inflammatory. But for there to be defamation, you have to prove that there was actual malice, that this person was intentionally trying to harm you. But what do we have? We have county commissions, we have school boards, we have city councils, we have courts all over the place acting to stifle the First Amendment liberties of the people. And in many Supreme Court cases, this is referred to as a prior restraint. In other words, it has a icing or chilling or restraining effect on a person's apparent feelings of freedom to even say something, so that when you go in, say, to a county commission meeting in Sherburne County, Minnesota, and this list of rules is read, and we'll play that list of rules several times, where one of the things that said is you will not level personal attacks against any member of the public or a member of the board or against any employee of Sherburne County. There's no definition of what a personal attack is. None. And there again, that is a prior restraint. And in the case of Sherburne County, it is completely arbitrary and completely subjective based on, one, the person who is speaking. In other words, depending on who's speaking, the definition will shift. And as long as nobody on the board or the county administrator has an objection to what's being said, then it's not an attack. But in the case of one individual in particular, Terry from Sherburne County, even mentioning a name is an attack. And so we are going to go back. I've got to get my notes up here, folks. We're going to go back and we're going to take a look at some of these meetings. Now, what I want to make perfectly clear is that it's very obvious that these rules, the Sherburne County rules for the public forum, are in place. They have been in place for a while, but there's a lack of consistency in enforcing these rules. So I went back all the way. I went back a year, and I started watching the public comments section of all of their meetings, and I mean from last year, and I have watched so many hours, and not just public comments, but of consent agenda and updates from their administrator, and even watched into the meeting some to see how the flow of the meeting goes. And I personally, I could run for Sherburne County Commissioner and do a better job than they're doing up there. And I don't even live there, but I'm more well informed about things going on in Sherburne County and the county commission than probably the county commissioners are, except for, whatever behind the scenes communication might be taking place. I'm not saying there is any behind the scenes communication because, that would be potentially insulting. But I'm pretty sure there's behind the scenes communication taking place. Yeah, anyway. So I went back and I want to just play a couple of different places where we start to see these inconsistencies really bear out. So we're going to go back to September 21st of 2021, and we're going to watch together the public a portion of the public comments.
Onto our open forum. Keisha, do we have anybody signed up for open forum?
Madam Chair, do we need to vote on the resolution from that public hearing?
No.
No? Okay.
We need to do
No,
something.
I don't.
Just close the public hearing.
No, it was just closing the
Closed,
public
okay.
hearing. Yep.
The EDA was not able to forward a recommendation, so
Right.
we'll wait on the resolution. When we put the packet together, we still thought the EDA was going to meet Thursday
Yep.
morning.
So we'll be doing that in October then. All right. Thank you, Keisha. Okay. Anybody signed up for public comment?
Yes, Madam Chair. First, we have James Bonin for the Second Amendment of Big Lake.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of the public comment. Information to be presented to the board does not require action by the board. Personal attacks of kind, any against or another person or commissioner or employee are not allowed. And the time limit is 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 5 speakers per open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. That being said, we will be held to a timeline on this, so go ahead, J. Bob.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for letting me speak again.
To our next agenda item, number 5, our open forum. Keisha, has anybody signed up for open forum?
Yes, Madam Chair. We have one member signed up, Brett Collier, speaking about abatements.
All right, Brett, please approach the podium. Just want to note, Brett, that there was a public hearing on this already. You spoke at that public hearing, and just so you know that your comment we will hear, but
And this is, I'm sort of talking general too about abatements.
and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Brett Collier, Big Lake.
So there we have the board chair basically saying, hey, look, you've already spoke on this, so we're really not going to pay attention to you on this. You've been heard once, so we're not going to hear you again, but we can't really stop you from speaking. But also note that there was no reading of the rules. So in the meeting from 9/21, there was a reading of rules. Now there's no reading of rules. So now we're going to go to 11/16 of 21.
At this time, we will have our open forum. Keisha, do we have anybody to speak?
Yes, Madam Chair. First, we have Brett Collier of Big Lake speaking on County Road 43.
Okay, Brett, you're aware of you have 3 minutes for your, what you want to relay to us. So, welcome, Brett.
Good morning.
And I really didn't mean to go over you.
Brett Collier, Big Lake.
Brett is a recurring figure at these meetings. A lot of respect for Brett. He was on my conversation with some other people from Sherburne County a little over, well, by the time this is up, it'll be about a week and a half ago. But there again, I want to note, no reading of the rules. Okay? No reading of the rules. 10.5, or 11.16, there's no reading of the rules. And then later on in this meeting, we see a county employee during public comments and give an update on county business during public comments. I'm not going to go to that part because it's important, but you're going to have to trust me. 11:16, if you want to see it during the public comment section, you can fast forward to about 5 minutes and 22 seconds and watch all the public comments, and you can see a public employee give an update during public comments. This is a tactic that is starting to happen more and more and more. We saw this play out several times in a couple, maybe 2-3 times in the Albert Lee School District, where they would fill public speaking slots with school board, or not school board, but school employees giving updates about their activities and things that are official business. So now we're going to go to
This is my subdivision. Okay.
So we have one.
Okay, this part is incredibly important. I want you guys to pay attention to this, all right? This is the voice that you're hearing is the administrator of Sherburne County. And you have an outgoing chair or board chair who's giving up her position after being chair for a year. And I want you guys to remember that when they do read the rules for public comments, you're not allowed to attack a board member or a county employee or any member of the public. You're not allowed to attack them. And as we've seen in the case of Terry, and we'll actually see this a couple of times play out throughout all of the public comment sections that where Terry does show up to start to speak. Just mentioning a board member or a county employee or even the sheriff by name will get her reprimanded. And in the case of the meeting here last week, or almost 2 weeks ago now, the removal of her bodily from the room for nothing more than saying a name. And here's where we're going to see a great example of kind of this double standard. And the fact that this is a paid county employee, a public servant, doing something at the expense of we the people, especially we the people of Sherburne County.
More pomp and circumstance to do as well, if the board will indulge me.
Okay.
This marks the end of 2021 for official county board meetings, and so we get the chance to recognize Commissioner Danielowski for her leadership as chair for 2021.
Now, he just mentioned Bruce Messelt, county administrator, just mentioned commissioner by name.
I just make a couple of extraneous comments, and then I will read the plaque that we have ordered for you, and thanks. 2021 was a very interesting year. A lot of these items that I noted as highlights have a certain resonance to them because we've been dealing with them in 2020, and we will probably deal with them in 2022. But during 2021, we saw some very significant activities, including wrapping up an amazing federal CARES Act program, where we saw the county in about 6 months work tirelessly to get assistance to where it was needed most in businesses, nonprofits, and community members. Commissioner Danielowski, as chair, also oversaw a very quick 2-month state of Minnesota business relief program that saw additional assistance for businesses struggling from the epidemic. Commissioner Danielowski, as chair, oversaw and led us to a return to a more normal state of operations in the summer, including closing down the function of the Emergency Operations Center and ending what has been, as far as I can research, the longest state of emergency the county has ever entered into. We've also begun and have seen success in implementing the first tenets of the federal ARPA program, which will now continue for the next several years. In addition, I note some.
Just note this. This is praise. Administrator Bruce Messelt, who is the guy who gets tapped to read the rules all the time, is right now sitting here over and over and over again, praising the commissioner, the board chair, for how much wonderful work that she's been doing over and over and over and over and over. And if you can't see it, he's got a plaque in his hand. Wonder who paid for that plaque, people.
Some non-COVID things. Commissioner Danielowski, as chair, has represented Sherburne County exceptionally well at the state and even national level, including
Notice that praise. She's done an exceptional. She represented Sherburne County at a national level exceptionally well, over and over and over and over, worshiping her, saying wonderful things about her, mentioning her by name.
her work at AMC with several subcommittees, as well as her leadership in Washington, D.C. in lobbying for funding and successful legislation at the state and federal level. But perhaps most importantly, what I note about this year is the calming and steady presence that you have demonstrated both in community events as well as employee events. There wasn't a groundbreaking I think you didn't make, and there wasn't an employee event you didn't attend. And that leadership really, really stands out. So this plaque is presented to Rayanne Danielowski in appreciation for your service to the citizens of Sherburne County as 2021 chairperson of the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners, presented this 21st day of December, 2021.
He's getting
From
emotional.
all of us here.
Can you hear that? He's getting emotional. And he's presenting this plaque on behalf of the citizens of Sherburne County. Was there a vote? I mean, not that it would work. We couldn't trust the voting, but anyway, we'll get to that. But he's presenting this on behalf of the citizens of Sherburne County. Who asked him to do this? What citizens of Sherburne County asked this guy to do this? And who paid for this plaque? And I don't care if it was a $5 plaque that he picked up at a store and somebody hand carved it with a pencil and a toothpick. Who asked him to do this? And why is it okay for him to spend just well over 3 minutes just blathering on, vomiting out this virtuous praise of Commissioner Danielowski over and over and over again? Who cares? She was elected to do a job. So you damn sure expect she's going to do her job and do it well, and you don't get a pat on the back for doing a good job when you're elected or hired by the people to do the job. Why is it he could sit there and name her by name over and over and over again, get ready to present her with a plaque, and this is fine. This is a perfectly good investment in the time of the county board to sit there and listen to this worship of Commissioner Danielowski. And that's what this is. This is worshipful. Bruce Messelt is like practically drooling at her feet.
At Sherburne County.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I do want to say, though, this is not done without our tremendous staff, our employees, and the awesome commissioners that I get to work with. This is not a solo act by any means.
So now she's going to go on and now she's going to say wonderful, nice things about people. Do you notice? Like, they're okay with you saying positives, but they're going to tell you that you can't level personal attacks against people. You can't name employees by name. You can't level personal attacks. But here she's praising how wonderful everybody's doing. Now, this is part and parcel of a problem that we have in the U.S., which is anything that is not 100% like praising a person for how awesome and wonderful they are is seen as an attack. So if you're disagreeing with someone, you name them by name, that's a personal attack. And we're going to see this play out now, here in just a second. I'm going to let her go on for just a little bit more.
Means, as we all know. And I just want to say, I share this with all of you.
because without all of you, we don't do this well. So thank you so much.
Commissioner Danielowski, I don't know that Sherburne County's board in Sherburne County does anything well at this particular point in time. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go take a look here. So, I skipped forward to 3.8 because at this point, and we're going to go back to a few more meetings here, but the two meetings I'm going to show you here are incredibly important. This is the meeting on 3/8/2022, and they're getting ready to do public comments. So listen in.
Now we can move on to open forum, and because I think we have a number of people here, we wanted to read the regulate, how the process works, just a reminder for everyone. So
Pay very close
Mr.
attention to
Messel said
this,
he would do that
to
for
what
us.
Brucey says here.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission, members of the audience. The purpose of the open forum section of the county board meeting agenda is to allow for public input and/or information to be presented to the board that does not require action by the board. Personal attacks of any kind against another person, a commissioner, or an employee are not allowed during open forum. Campaign-type presentations are also not allowed. The time limit for open forum is 3 minutes per speaker, with a maximum of 5 speakers per the open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. Discussions that require additional time beyond the original 15 minutes will be recessed and continued following the conclusion of the regular board business meeting agenda items. All input and information that is to be addressed to the Board of Commissioners as a whole, not to individuals and not to members of the audience. Speaker handouts are considered public information, and the county may make copies of such handouts for public if needed, and Keisha will be accepting handouts on behalf of the board.
We're going to go back and listen to
finally,
that just a second.
The purpose of the open forum section of the county board meeting agenda is to allow for public input and/or information to be presented to the board that does not require action by the board. Personal attacks of any kind against another person, a commissioner, or an employee are not allowed during open forum. Campaign-type presentations are also not allowed. The time limit for open forum is 3 minutes per speaker, with a maximum of 5 speakers per the open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. Discussions that require additional time beyond the original 15 minutes will be recessed and continued following the conclusion of the regular board business meeting agenda items. All input and information that is to be addressed to the Board of Commissioners as a whole, not to individuals and not to members of the audience.
Now, this is the closest they get to saying that you cannot name a board member by name or an employee or an audience member by name. But there again, remember, any rule put on what can be said in a public forum, according to the First Amendment, is a chilling effect. It has a chilling effect. And once again, remember, we just watched Bruce Messel spend well over 3 minutes slobbering all over the former chair, Danielowski. That's okay. But now coming up and stating something, a fact, let's just see how that plays out.
Speaker handouts are considered public information, and the county may make copies of such handouts for public if needed, and Keisha will be accepting handouts on behalf of the board. And finally, the board chair will ensure that the open forum policy is followed. Please note that any information provided to the county board on a matter that is subject to a public hearing will not be considered by the board during public comment. Therefore, if there is a public hearing scheduled, you are asked to write or submit your comments in accordance with the instructions for the public hearing to ensure your opinion becomes part of the official record for consideration.
Okay. Keisha, who do we have?
Madam Chair, we have
So we're going to fast forward here to Terry. At this point, Terry has been coming on a regular basis, 2 meetings. to speak about election integrity in Sherburne County. So here we go.
Because it has the book in there.
So Terry's going to come up. And I want you guys to listen to
Thank you.
Terry and tell me if
Next,
this...
Madam Chair, we have Terry Dickinson, and she is speaking on voting machines, and she's from Big Lake.
Tell me if she sounds like she's attacking anyone, insulting anyone, or addressing them, or just giving a statement of fact.
Thank you. Dear County Commissioners, you are cordially invited to attend the Midwest Swamp Watch event tonight from 6 to 8 in Ramsey. Many of us in your district are concerned that you brought the Dominion voting machines into our county, and we would kindly ask you to remove them. I asked Bruce Messelt if we could have a county community action team a workshop with you, but he told me on Friday that that was denied. So I'm requesting right now that we do set up a workshop meeting. Luckily, there will be a public presentation tonight in Ramsey. So I have an invitation for you that I'll turn in. And I want to thank you for your anticipated cooperation in making Sherburne County a bastion of liberty with an honest and transparent representative government at the county level. And I look forward to seeing you tonight. I also want to go over State Statute 206.58 Subdivision 3, which states the governing body of a county may provide the use of electronic voting systems in one or more of the precincts. So this is your decision. It's a county decision. The Dominion machines were brought in by the county, and we were asking you to take them out via the county. Eric Coomer is the Director and Product Strategy and Security of Dominion Voting Systems. And he has stated in a video, and I'll give you a link to it, this device can transmit directly. When it prints out the tapes, it automatically transmits the results as well. Cellular modem from the ICP, and it supports a variety of wireless chip and modem, whatever is compatible. It uses Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, all networks, can use multiple networks in one area. And quote, we actually transmit from the ICP in Mongolia as well, unquote. So it is not limited in network. Allied Security Operations Group has stated, Dominion Voting Systems is a Canadian-owned company with global subsidiaries. It is owned by...
Now, I played that because she named the administrator and nobody stopped her, right? She names the administrator and nobody stops her. This is where there's inconsistency. So now what I want to do is I want to... well, I'm not going to play the videos, but in the previous video to this one, from December 21st, we saw Messel just lavish worship upon Danielowski, and then present Danielowski with a plaque that he said was on behalf of the entire county. So as a county administrator, I don't know how he has the authority to represent the entire county and say this is from the entire county. No, it's from county staff. And he's claiming it's from staff. It's paid for by the entire county. And there again, I don't care how cheap it was. It's paid for by the entire county. And there again, I don't really have a beef with that personally. I don't have a real big issue with that. But then we go from that meeting in December. We then go to the January 4th meeting. There was no announcements prior to the public forum. The January 18th meeting, there was no announcement prior to the public forum. The February 8th meeting, there was no announcement prior to the forum. And then we get to March 8th, and there is an announcement, but she does name Messelt by name, and nobody says anything. So we go to March 22nd. They're now reading the rules on a regular basis at this point. They realize that there are going to be people coming every meeting who are going to be speaking about their concerns with how the voting machines in Sherburne County are being handled. And they are now reading at every meeting, every single time, Messelt is reading the rules. I want to then now show you the meeting on 4/5.
Members of the commission, the purpose of the open forum section of the county board meeting is to allow public input and/or information to be presented to the county board that does not require action by the board. Personal attacks of any kind against another person, commissioner, or employee are not allowed. Campaign-style presentations are also not allowed. The time limit is 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 5 speakers at the open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. Discussions that require additional time beyond the original 15 minutes will be recessed and continued following the conclusion of the regular board business meeting agenda items. All input or information is to be addressed to the Board of Commissioners as a whole and not to members of the audience or individual commissioners. Speaker handouts are considered public information, and the county may make copies of such handouts for the public if needed. The county board chair will ensure that the open forum policy is followed. We also note, although there have been a conclusion of the public hearings, that information that is subject to the public hearing should not and will not be considered by the board during public comment. We are asking that any written or submitted comments for public hearing items should be conducted in accordance with the instructions for the public hearing, so to ensure that the opinions become part of the official record for consideration. And then one last note is, if there are groups that are planning to speak, we do ask consideration of one person representing the entire group. However, we don't allow stacking of time, like you giving your time to somebody so they can speak for a longer period.
So now I'm going to fast forward to
Next, we have Cheryl Sill speaking on sorry and the ICE detention.
now. Just pay attention to how she's treated.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Sill, and I live in 13239 Lake Place Road.
By the way, if you are ever asked in a public meeting to give your exact address, do not do it. They have no right to know that. I don't care if you're from Calcutta, Indiana. I don't care if you're from Timbuktu, Texas. You want to come to the Sherburne County Board meeting and speak? I don't care where you're from. They don't need to know where you live. And you darn sure don't need to give your address.
Up in Zimmerman, in Baldwin Township. And I am a Christian woman and a retired teacher, so I feel obligated to come to you and make presentation about our ICE contract that I am not real pleased about. I myself am not a good writer, so I have found a really good article, and I will email you the link to this report or article that has been written. It is put out by Hannah Johnson at the ACLU, and I won't read it all since I've only got 3 minutes, and I tend to be a slow reader when I get going. So I just feel it's important that we all get educated on this issue and are aware of what's happening in our county. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE, is detention. It's a civil detention. It is not intended to be punishment for criminal conviction, though conditions are often as bad or worse as those you'd find in prison, particularly our Sherburne County Detention Center.
Now, stop right there. She's making an accusation, which I'm perfectly okay with her making. I don't know butkus about the Sherburne County Detention Center. But this is an attack. This is an attack on the integrity of the Sherburne County Detention Center, which is technically full of Sherburne County employees through the sheriff's office. This is unfounded. This is unfounded. She presents no evidence. She just says it's a bad place to be.
It may be shocking to learn that the U.S. government detains tens of thousands of people each day in immigrant detention. ICE detention exists to ensure people who are currently going through immigration proceedings in the U.S. attend their court dates. An immigration judge can also determine a person's release, which presents a danger to the community. A subjective determination is what that's called.
So, thank you very much, madam. Subjective determination. That's very much what happens at their board meetings over and over and over again. They do subjective determinations. They will prove in an upcoming meeting that they have a subjective view on what an attack is and what makes a person out of order. This lady literally attacked the integrity of the Sherburne County detention staff by saying that the Sherburne County Detention Center was a bad place. In particular, the Sherburne County Detention Center. There again, it's an actual attack on staff is what that is. You're not attacking the building, you're attacking the staff, but that's okay. We don't have an issue with that. And they're okay with subjectivity, but she's going to tackle subjectivity here and attack subjectivity, even though she's okay abiding by the subjectivity that allows her to continue speaking, when the same subjectivity will get Terry silenced twice.
ICE detention also serves to effectuate deportation orders for people who are out of legal options to stay in this country. Generally, people in ICE detention are in limbo, waiting to learn whether they can legally remain in the country or whether they will be deported. Why should we be concerned about immigration detention? This rips tens of thousands of people away from their families and their communities. And I personally have heard of Sherburne County detention, detainees that were finally freed after many months, and heard some of their stories. They ripped them apart from their families and communities, including longtime residents who.
She's heard the story, so it must be true. So she can just throw it out there and imply that it's true, right? She can just imply that it's true. There again, I don't have a problem with this happening, but this is an attack on employees. Not by name, but it is an attack. This is a personal attack on the staff of the Sherburne County Detention Center, because all of these former detainees have told these stories. Right, because a detainee would never make a story up.
To our neighbors, coworkers, and family members, this country has not always spent taxpayer money to lock up immigrants. I myself am a product of Eastern and Western European immigrants, and I'm thankful my ancestors took that move, as we all see in Ukraine today. Until the 1980s, when the private prison profiteers began to flourish, immigrants were free while they navigated through the legal process to become citizens.
Just so you know, your 3 minutes are up.
Oh, okay.
So if you
So
wanna just close.
thank you. I myself
Now notice how she's allowed to go and make her close. She can make her closing.
am out here every Wednesday along with another group. Our SARI group is Sanctuary and Resistance to Injustice. And I'm sorry, I only have a couple free little freebie handouts I'll give, so you can hand those out. In particular, Lisa Bobby, since she's my representative for Baldwin County. Thank you for your time.
And she
Thank you,
just named
Terry.
somebody.
Is there anyone else?
I do not have anybody else.
So let's go to, I'm not going to even show it, but on April 19th, they had an overabundance of speakers, and they did read the rules. There again, the rules are being now read every time, so I didn't even get into that. But they allow Terry to speak. They do tack Terry on at the end. So that's, props to them for making that allowance.
So congratulations to Andrew and Gina for a job exceptionally well done.
Now, why did I do that? Congratulations to Andrew and Gina for a job exceptionally well done. Why do we get to do that? If a person cannot name a staff member in a critique, or name a board member in a critique, or an employee of the county in any way, shape, or form in a critique, if they can't name them in a critique, if they can't name a board member at all, why are we naming any person at all and singling them out for praise for a job well done? Why? Why do we get to do that in Sherburne County? Why is it only those things which we deem aren't positive are attacks? And even naming someone is an attack and makes you out of order. Why is that? So we're going to go to 517. We're going to watch a first speaker, and then we're going to watch Terry.
So we'll start with first reading.
So open forum, the purpose of the open forum section of the county board agenda meeting.
And keep
is to
leaving
allow
these
the
in here
public
so you
input
guys
and/or
can hear
information
this
to be
over
presented
and
to the
over and
board
over
that does not
again.
require action by the board. Personal attacks of any kind against another person, commissioner, or employee are not allowed. Campaign type presentations are also not allowed. The time limit is 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 5 speakers per open forum. Time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. Discussions that require additional time beyond the original 15 minutes will be recessed and continued following the conclusion of the regular board business meeting agenda items. All input or information is to be addressed to the Board of Commissioners and not to members of the audience. Speaker handouts are public information. County may make copies of such handouts for the public if needed, and the county board chair will ensure that the open forum policy is followed. Also, we note we do not have any public hearings today, so there is not a potential for confusion between a public hearing and the open forum.
Okay, so who is our first person?
Our first speaker is Nancy Hassett. She is here to speak on immigration.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Great.
So my name is Nancy Hassett. I'm representing Sanctuary and Resistance to Injustice, as well as Elk River Union
Keep an eye on the guy in the clerical collar with the mask on and the long hair.
Congregational Church, United Church of Christ. I'm reading this on behalf of Reverend Dr. Lori Pound-Fale, who was unable to present it on March 8th. Dr. Pound-Fale is the senior pastor at First Christian Church in Minneapolis. She writes, "You might ask whether my presence here is legitimate since I live in Minneapolis, and that is where the church I serve is located. In the words of Reverend Martin Luther King, I'm here because I was invited here. But more importantly, I'm here because injustice is here. Just as the 8th century prophets left their little villages and carried their 'Thus saith the Lord' far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns, and just as the Apostle Paul left his little village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to practically every hamlet and city of the Greco-Roman world, I too am compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my particular hometown. We know the business of jails is a profit-making business. Jails are in the business of making money off of human bodies being in the jail. Even counties run jails. Here in Sherburne County, ICE is paying you over $100 per day per detainee. I understand that historically this county has made as much as $11 million a year. This cannot help but create a financial incentive to fill jail beds at the expense of the pain, suffering, and separation of immigrant families. This incentive helps to add money to the county budget, and it is human nature for us to all want more money for our budgets. I can't believe, though, that any of us want our budgets filled with money that comes from the pain, suffering, and separation of others. I don't understand any person of any faith being okay with money that passes from one entity to another that goes against the values of loving God and neighbor, the stranger as self. As an ally of Sanctuary and Resistance to Injustice, I come today to join them in demanding that the County Board and Sheriff Joel Brott take immediate steps.
Name somebody in the county by name, ladies and gentlemen. Name them by name. Sheriff, I mean, this is one, asking for action. Two, naming a county individual. Now, he may not be an employee of the county, but he works for the people. And she named Sheriff Brott by name. Nobody shuts her down.
Steps to end the contract with ICE once and for all, and to release, not transfer, all immigrant detainees, God's children, currently held in the jail. Human dignity is more important than tainted money. God knows it's time. It's beyond time. And personally, I might add that,
Watch
yes,
this
there
very
may
close.
be immigrants detained here that were charged with rape or attempted murder or various felonies. But once they get here,
Nancy,
they have
your 3 minutes are up if you want to wrap up.
served their time.
She just got
Yep.
a 30-second warning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, you go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. But they've served their time. The system is, they go to our criminal court. If they're found guilty, they serve their time. Then they come to immigration and they're either deported or released. So they should not be detained here because they've served their time. They've paid their price. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Now, she just got her 30-second warning. Well, who cares, right? Like, who are you? One, why are you speaking, dude? Okay. Now, remember, she married. She named Sheriff Brott. Now, we're going to fast forward to Terry. And like every other person got cut off right at their 3 minutes, by the way. So every other person that spoke, when they ran out of their 3 minutes, they were done. Nobody was defending them. So we're going to now pay very close attention. Remember the rules. Remember how many times we've talked about the rules. We're escalating things with Terry.
To the clerk.
Not we,
Thank you.
Sherburne County's decision makers, the power
Thank you.
players, the autocrats.
Next, we have Terry Dickinson speaking with an invitation.
Good morning. I am here to invite you on Thursday, May 17th from 7 to 9 p.m. to Shoreview for a Midwest Swamp Watch presentation. I've invited you many times. Please come this time and get the information regarding the Dominion voting system and our current election system. We have huge problems. We're packed again. We would like a public hearing. We want you to come and get the information. We're offering it again and again and again. It's our time. It's our money. We're trying to help. I
want you guys to understand something about Terry. I've had some in-depth conversations with her now. Terry hates public speaking. She's good at it. She hates it. And to her credit, she maybe sounds rushed, but she has been pleading with Sherburne County to listen to her. Her allies in this argument have been pleading with her or alongside her with the Sherburne County Board, with Sherburne County administration to listen. She's begging them. She's literally doing what the First Amendment says, which is to go with a peaceable redress of her grievances. And she's getting nowhere. And this is how she's going to get treated. And there again, it's escalation.
Our own community by giving you the information. Also, Rayanne Danielowski, my commissioner, said she would, I'm Terry Dickinson, give us a public hearing. One of you has to agree to support it. Felix, you're on your way out. Would you please support a public hearing for us, please?
Terry, you're not supposed to address commissioners individually.
Sorry, didn't mean to do that.
The rule does not say you cannot address them individually. It says you have to address the board. She's addressing the board. She just got cut off. Like literally the woman who came to speak about immigration named the sheriff. Nobody shut her down. Nobody shut her down. And I'll tell you why, because if they'd had shut her down for that, that group would have gone absolutely ballistic, because that's what leftists do.
He's correct.
Anyway, May 25th is also a workshop given by the City of Big Lake. Diane Arnold will be there presenting hers. Rick Weibel will be there presenting ours. Please come. It's another opportunity. One session is really not enough. Also, just regarding all this other stuff going on, any law or treaty that is not in pursuance with the United States Constitution is illegitimate and unenforceable. So it doesn't matter what's coming down the pike. If it's not in agreement with our Constitution, it's not enforceable. So if you think that a treaty can remove our liberties, that's wrong. Please start studying the U.S. Constitution and the Minnesota Constitution, because we're hearing what's coming down the pike. So please come to the Midwest Swamp Watch. It talks about the unconstitutional consent decrees, which the counties followed. It was in violation of state statutes, like those drop boxes. Those broke the chain of custody. Those are not not acceptable. Also, he talks all about the Dominion machines. So here's your invitation. Thank you.
Terry, just to clarify.
So we're going to now go to 6/7/22. Now we're going to watch this from Bruce Messelt, because he's about to do something there again that names a county commissioner. It sounds like there's something personal going on here, but it's an untenable position. He shouldn't be doing this. Rules need to be equally applied.
Since it has been shared with staff, a thanks to Commissioner Dolan for his sharing of information and letting staff know of the situation. We really appreciate you being willing to lead us through this time, but also we're really, really glad that you're sitting here 3 weeks later.
Still above dirt.
There again, don't know what's going on. It's none of our business, but didn't need to take time out of the meeting for that. Why are we praising these public servants for doing their damn jobs? So they do go on in this meeting. There again, I keep saying it over and over and over. They are reading the rules in all of the meetings now. So we're gonna skip to 7/12, and not skip. We're just gonna go to the next meeting, which is 7/12. They only had one meeting in July. They had numerous people signed up to speak.
The items from the June Planning Commission meeting?
They had numerous people signed up to speak. And they did read the rules. There again, I said it before, but we're going to skip to this next person, or to an individual. I want you guys to listen to everything that is about to be said and tell me if this doesn't sound like derogatory, defamatory, insulting attacks on county employees.
Thank you. So
Next, we have Nancy Hassett of Big Lake speaking about ICE.
Once again, listen very closely and tell me if this is in keeping with the rules.
Hi, I'm with Sanctuary and Resistance to Injustice and Union Congregational Church. The following testimony was dictated by Luis, not his real name, about his ICE detention in Sherburne Jail.
Now, this is technically, not only is this anecdotal, but it's hearsay. Worse, not only is it hearsay, we don't know if this Luis even exists. And I want you to listen. I cannot emphasize this enough. Does this keep with the rules of their public forum engagement at all? Period. Anecdotal, hearsay. We don't know that Luis exists. I don't believe this woman. I don't believe that this Luis, not his real name, dictated this. This does not sound at all legit. But you tell me if this keeps the rules.
quote, "I had a check-in at Whipple with immigration. I thought it was a regular check-in every 6 months for 15 to 30 minutes, having them check paperwork so I didn't get into trouble with immigration. Instead, I was brought to Sherburne County Jail, where I experienced some of the worst things I've experienced in my life. Sherburne did horrible things. I spent my birthday on lockdown for 2.5 months,
Horrible things. Did horrible things. This is an attack. This is an unfounded attack. Literally, the very thing. It may not be naming names, but this is an attack on the county. This is now out there in the public record, and nobody's saying a darn thing to this gal.
3 hours a day. There was 1 hour a day for shower, make a call, or grab something from a vending machine if you had any money. The first 4 days I got there, I was on lockdown. I wasn't communicated with. I couldn't make a call. They wouldn't let me take a shower. They wouldn't let me do anything. I was by myself, super cold. They didn't let me call anyone and only communicated when they felt like it. Their excuse is always COVID, but everyone was COVID-free because you are in lockdown when you come in. The food is disgusting. They do horrible things to break you down, so you will ask to sign your deportation papers. So the situation in the jail is really bad. Everyone is a Trump supporter, super racist, and say racist things to you.
No, first of all, who's everyone? And you know who she's talking about. She, representing Luis, is talking about staff. She just called all of the staff a bunch of racist Trump supporters. Having worked in a detention environment within the state of Minnesota, in one of the most left-leaning regions of the state now, which is Rochester, I don't believe for a minute that everybody that's locked up is a bunch that's locked up in there are all racists. So it's not the people that are locked up aren't all a bunch of racist Trump supporters. She's communicating that the staff is full of racists. Now, you're going to know why I say that in just a second. Listen very closely to her. And once again, tell me whether or not this is a defamatory attack on staff. Maybe not naming individual staff members by name, but you tell me why this is allowed to go on.
They mess with you. I call them the SS because that is what they really are. It's a concentration camp for immigrants. Food is rotten, potatoes every single day. They find any reason to lock you in. Out of nowhere, they locked us down for 2 minutes. Everyone was talking, playing cards, reading the Bible, and out of nowhere, we get a lockdown for 2 months. 4 days without calling family, your lawyer, anything. After 4 days, we went on a hunger strike. So then they brought us to the hole, which is the worst. After about a week and a half, I started talking to myself, laughing at my own jokes. Before the lockdown, they came like a SWAT team with dogs, weapons, rifles. They would step on you, bring the...
Sorry, we have to, but you can leave.
Time is up.
Yep.
No. Rifles? So short of a riot, I don't believe there were rifles brought into that detention center. But all of this is okay because it's a leftist agenda. All right? Like all of that. Nobody's going to question that. Nobody's going to say, stop, you're out of line. You're making accusations. Well, like if this stuff is all legit, it needs to be investigated. So should you file actual charges of requests for investigations is what we need to do. But no, nobody says a word. Nobody says a word. Nobody shuts her down. It's just allowed to go on. So now we're going to go back to December 21.
So we have one more.
We're just going to listen to him one more time. Remember, we're not allowed to talk about people by name on the board, right? When you're a member of the public.
The board will indulge me.
Okay.
This marks the end of 2021 for official county board meetings. And so we get the chance to recognize Commissioner Danielowski for her leadership as chair for 2021. I just make a couple of extraneous comments, and then I will read the plaque that we have ordered for you, and thanks. 2021 was a very interesting year. A lot of these items that I noted as highlights have a certain resonance to them because we've been dealing with them in 2020, and we will probably deal with them in 2022. But during 2021, we saw some very significant activities, including wrapping up an amazing federal CARES Act program, where we saw the county in about 6 months work tirelessly to get assistance to where it was needed most in businesses, nonprofits, and community members. Commissioner Danielowski, as chair, also oversaw a very quick 2-month state of Minnesota business relief program that saw additional assistance for businesses struggling from the epidemic. Commissioner,
No, you guys will remember all of that, right? You guys remember all of this heaped on praise about how wonderful Chair Danielowski, Commissioner Danielowski is. How wonderful. And you know what? She might be wonderful. She might just be the best thing since sliced white bread. She might be the best thing since warm apple pie. But here we have an employee of the county saying he represents the entire county, giving a plaque to a commissioner who was elected to represent the entire county. And this is Terry, August 2nd. Now you tell me if what she did deserves this.
First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Since January, we have been begging for a public hearing to discuss the voting system that we do not trust, do not want to use, and do not want to pay for. Our petitions for a public hearing to redress our grievances have been arrogantly denied by our county commissioners, and they avoid their duty to respond to our grievances. Instead, the citizens of Sherburne County were bulldozed over, and new equipment was purchased at the insistence of County Auditor Treasurer Diane Arnold. Each and every commissioner voted to support the purchase of the new system while ignoring our petitions for redress of grievances. This system cost over $654,000 in December of 2015 for the 2016 election, and I have heard rumors that the new system is around $500,000. I would appreciate clarification, please. During the recess of the April 19th board meeting, I pressed Commissioner Danielowski to stop dancing around the issue and support a public hearing, to which she rendered an obscure but positive response to a public hearing. Even though County Administrator Bruce Messelt immediately refuted any agreement and audit, and so did Diane Arnold.
Did you catch that? Bruce Messelt in December 21st of 2021 worshipped at the feet of Danielowski, heaping her with praise. Terry barely mentions her name, Commissioner Danielowski's name, and she immediately, somebody says, she's in violation.
Still, my county commissioner had given an obfuscated agreement to the public hearing, so I followed up with emails to her and the scheduler on April 27th and 28th.
Ms. Dickin,
I
you are
never
out of order.
received a response for Commissioner
the board
Daniel.
is- the board-
Excuse me,
The
sir. I am
board
a
chair,
public.
Ms.
Excuse
Dickin, the
me,
board
sir.
chair has.
Excuse me, sir.
No, Ms.
I am an
Dickin,
American
you are
citizen,
out of
and
order.
I am not.
Bailiff, would you help this,
Sir,
Ms.
just
Dickin,
a minute.
please?
I never received a response from County
Cut the
Commissioner
mic,
Danielowski, but I received.
This should very much go back to December 21st, 2021. As Messelt worships the ground that Danielowski walks on, Terry barely mentions her name, and now she's getting removed. I want the body cam footage. And look at that smile on Danielowski's face. Look at that. Did you see that smug smile on her face? Did you see that grin? Did you see that grin? And this Dolan over here
I think
thinks it's
now we will
hilarious.
Move forward with our regular agenda. What?
There, now you guys get to look at my beautiful face again. Um, December 21st, 2021, Danielowski gets worshipped by Messelt. August 2nd, 2022. After months and months and months and months and months and months and meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting of speaker after speaker after speaker after speaker after speaker, Terry comes, reads the first freaking amendment of the United States Constitution, talks about a redress of grievances, explains that no one's redressing their grievances, names Danielowski by name, and immediately gets shut down. Every single person who gives a damn about their county needs to show up at the next board meeting and every other board meeting in Sherburne County until they make the county board so philosophically uncomfortable that they either backtrack and finally grant a hearing, a public hearing, where all of the evidence for all of the stuff that everybody and Terry and her group are looking for, or they finally say, we can't handle the pressure anymore and resign. Not a call to violence, not a call to do any kind of harm, but it is time for civil disobedience. The constant reading of the rules and the arbitrary handling of the rules is only being done in a way so as to weaponize the rules against dissenting voices, period. Because we saw Messelt, as a county administrator, praise people by name, to include a county commissioner, his boss, sucked up to his boss so bad that it was almost disgusting how much he lavished praise on her. And how quick he was to back up, getting that captain in there to get Terry out of there. That juxtaposition is so important. Y'all have a problem in Sherburne County. A major problem in Sherburne County. Those rules for public forum meant next to nothing until y'all started showing up. Well, guess what? Y'all need to show up. And every single person who cares, who's within driving distance of Sherburne County, needs to get on the schedule for when those meetings are, and they need to start showing up and backing up these patriots in Sherburne County. They need to fill that room until it's to capacity, and then they need to refuse to leave. That county belongs to the people. And in particular, it belongs to the people that have been going and voicing their opinions, voicing their feelings, looking for a redress of grievances for months and aren't getting any redress. Because the only thing that board cares about is keeping the money coming in from the state, and the federal state. They're going to ramrod through anything that they want, and they do not give a damn if anybody says no. And that goes for the people that want the ICE detention to end. Except the difference is, eventually the ICE detention people will bring in leftist organizers. The ICE detention people will eventually start to bring massive protest in. They will bring them in. Now it's time for the people on the right to start bringing in peaceful but civilly disobedient protests. Everybody needs to show up. Everybody needs to demand that there be meetings. And everybody needs to demand public comment from your Board of Commissioners in Sherburne County, or no one silences or leaves that room until they're either forced out or until the sheriff says, we're not having anything to do with this. These people have a right to a redress of grievances. The Constitution guarantees them the liberty to a redress of grievances. We will not get involved. I am calling on the patriotic people of Sherburne County to skip work. I'm calling on the patriotic people of Sherburne County to get in there and support this group of people, whether you agree with them or not. I don't care if you think everything's hunky-dory and there's nothing going on. You need to show up and back these people up. Stand with them. And fill that room and demand answers during a meeting, or do not leave until you get them. Sherburne County people, stand up. It's time for the patriots to practice civil disobedience, non-aggression, non-violent, civil disobedience. Get moving. And if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Until next time, my friends, fight for your liberties, fight for your freedoms, and head over to my Subscribe Star Minnesota Black Robe Regiment podcast. Pick a level of support and throw me a little support. The more support I get, the more likely I am to be able to make it out and actually document this stuff. So fight for your liberties. They're yours. Fight for your freedoms. They are yours. And until next time, sic semper tyrannis.
We are go for liftoff in T-30. Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. Secondary guidance systems engaged. Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark. Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at